When I first started trying to lose weight, I didn't actually fix anything. I just crash dieted the scale down. I starved and then binged and repeated until I just really thought I was never going to make it. I was always punishing myself and super ashamed. And that guilt caused me to put more fat back on than I originally lost. But after realizing the stuff that I'm going to show you in this video, seriously, everything changed for me. I saw I wasn't broken. I was just doing the wrong things that you can easily steal. Almost every client I've worked with has made the same avoidable mistakes. And once we fixed them, belly fat started melting off really easily. The 7 lessons in this video would have saved me so much time and frustration. And today I'm going to give them to you so you don't have to spend years learning them yourself. Oh man, I need a marker. Okay, so first, you don't want to be like this balloon. I'm going to use this balloon to show you my point. And so you're starting off here, you're kind of, you're fat and sassy. Yeah, nothing wrong with that necessarily. And then as you lose weight and as you get smaller and smaller, pardon the noise and my lack of art skills, you are like the same, but just smaller. And no matter how much you lose, you're just still sad. So the point here is that just getting smaller is not what you want. I promise I've ran into so many people that is their goal. They're just like, I just want to be smaller. I just want to lose this weight. And I totally get it, but you don't want to lose weight. Muscle is the foundation of your fat loss. You will not have the look you want without it. Please listen to me here. You want to protect your muscle by lifting, and you really want a solid program that's going to spare your muscle mass. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how to get that program in just a second. It's totally free. Also, protein prevents that skinny fat look as well by sparing the muscle mass. There's really only 2 things you can do whenever it comes to like body composition. That's lose fat and build muscle. There is no such thing as toning. And so you want to focus on keeping that muscle. There's no like special type of like toning it to look a certain way. If you just keep the muscle, when you lose the fat, you're going to love your look. Keeping your muscle is also going to spare your metabolism. It's going to keep your metabolism high, which is key. You might think that just like losing the weight is what you want, but in my opinion, at least for me and a lot of my clients, we want to lose the weight. We want to still be able to eat a decent amount. We don't have to eat like a bird the rest of our life in order to maintain that. And that's what keeping your muscle is going to do for you. It's also going to improve your confidence. You are going to be so much more confident. You're going to feel sexy. And because of that, it's going to improve your motivation, because whenever you feel that good, whenever you feel that manly or that sexy or attractive or whatever, I'm telling you, it's super motivating. I think one of the most underrated parts of lifting as well and going after the muscle underneath the fat is that the non-scale victories, and I know that's kind of corny, okay? I know it's kind of cliche, but the strength that you're improving on is something that happens so much faster. Every single workout, you're going to improve for quite a while, for like up to a year. You're going to be adding reps or weight to the bar. It's fun, okay? And so that is the main thing here, is that it is a whole lot of fun. Now, the thing that I wanted to tell you about how to get your program for free, I made this FitBuddy thing with ChatGPT that allows you to actually make your program for you. It's customized for you, your injuries, your experience, the equipment in your gym. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then, like, I don't know, like 7 to 9 questions. And it's going to spit out a program, a split for you. If you're super busy, it'll change it based off if you have more time to go to the gym. It is awesome, totally free, in the description. Go ahead and grab that now. Okay, the next thing I wanted to show you is what I'm calling the rainy day theory.
I've been waiting for summer.
So if you don't already know him, this is Casey Neistat, one of the big like vloggers of early YouTube.
My happiness and good mood and just general positivity is tied to the weather. You'd also know that all winter long, I've been waiting for summer. I'm trying to illustrate a point here, which is that it rains a disproportionate amount of days in New York City. But as I'm making charts and then looking at the data, I'm realizing it rains on average 11 to 15% of the days, kind of making me feel like a little bit of a bitch for complaining about it so much. Maybe I should have looked this up before I did this whole scene.
Okay, so the point of showing you that is that we remember the negative far more than we remember the positive. And so it feels like setbacks or like difficulties are far more common than they actually are. There's a study that was done one time. I couldn't find it. Maybe I'm making it up, but someone quoted it and I've forever believed it. And I think it is true. And it is that we think that we hit something like 50% of red lights. But in all reality, I think the average, at least in non-major cities, is like 13% of red lights. So most lights you go through are green. We just don't remember them because the experience wasn't memorable because we just went through the light. And so that's going to apply to your fat loss here. People really freak out and feel like it's a permanent thing. They're going to be stuck in it forever when they take 2 steps back. Let's represent those 2 steps by 2 pounds. You gained 2 pounds on the scale. And I'm not talking daily fluctuations. I'm talking actually gaining 2 pounds. If it's a daily fluctuation, even more so, this is a point that you can take home because that's even less important. But let's say you actually gain 2 real pounds on the scale. People forget that they've lost 15 or 30. If you take 15 steps forward and 2 steps back and you continue to repeat that, you will reach your goal in no time, I promise you. And the entire way is fun. You don't have fun when you reach your goal. Every 15 pounds you lose, you're going to feel that much more confident, that much more attractive, that much more motivated. The lesson here is that scale swings are a part of the process and that most setbacks are tiny and not ruinous. They really are small. And so just remind yourself of this rainy day theory next time that you feel like you're in a rut. How much have you actually been stuck in this rut? A lot of times it's a lot better than you think. So for the next point, failures have predictable triggers. And once you know them, you can easily fight them. So let me show you what I mean on the whiteboard here. So just like Casey, I'm just drawing a really crude calendar. I don't even know if the days, those aren't even 7 days a week, but you get what I mean. Now, the thing that I want to take home here is that you can't avoid events. They happen all the time. There might be a birthday, an anniversary, another birthday, and then we got Christmas, and then we got New Year's, and then later we have the Super Bowl. This obviously is not an accurate calendar, but I'm saying events happen far too often. There's something that we can't avoid, and so we have to learn to deal with them. We have to learn to navigate them. That's not to mention like all the times you're sick or all the times the baby won't sleep or whatever, all the difficulties that happen in life, not even just events. So, it can be pretty overwhelming whenever you think about how many times it's not convenient to be on your fitness goals. All right, so first I'm going to focus on like the events side of things, your life events, things that include alcohol usually and food. It could be something as dark as like a funeral. It could be something as positive as a wedding, but there's always something that seems like it's happening. And so how do we do this? Saving your calories is typically the strategy that I see people will try to implement. And that I've never seen that really work. Sure, it might work for an event or two, but most events it gets derailed because you're so hungry you end up overeating. Now, what's happening in this situation is that as you were saving your calories, ghrelin and leptin were doing their thing, making you feel like you need to be able to eat more and giving you hunger cues that you need to eat. And so whenever you get to that situation where you actually have food in front of you, you have the ability to eat more than you ever thought you could. So if you thought, you know what, I'm going to save 1,000 calories. There's no way none of my meals are over 1,000 calories, so it's going to keep me from overeating. That's true, usually. But in that moment, you have the ability to eat 3,000 calories because your body's like, dude, we need some food. And so that's what ends up happening is you end up over consuming at the event. So here's how I handle this. Don't save your calories, okay? Please trust me. Just don't. Worst case, you go over, which actually, this is one of the points. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this more. But worst case, you go over a little bit and you haven't gained that much fat. That's a very encouraging point. So stick around for that if you want to. But what you're going to do here is consume your normal calories, make it very healthy though. Normally, I'm not like telling my clients, hey, I really want perfection, but the day of an event, make it perfect up until the event. And then enjoy the event and move on. That's it. Another small hack that I meant to throw in there and forgot was eat a protein bar, like literally in the car on the way to the event. At least you're going to get your protein, and then you can use those calories to build muscle later. Okay. It's not going to matter. I promise. Whenever that really sets into your heart, man, it's so freeing because I'm just like you. I struggle with my weight my whole life. Events kind of scared me. And this is our power. We get our power back here. I also wanted to mention late night cravings. This is like the stresses of life, coming home from work and you have cravings, stuff like that. I don't actually have it with me, darn. But I have a craving survival map. You're going to love it. It goes through emotions of like what you're actually feeling. And then you go through a small checklist, like 5 items. And by the end of that, you won't have that craving anymore. That is also free in the description. You're going to love it. So here's what I gave you a hack for events. And I also gave you kind of the craving survival map for stresses in your life and stuff like that, or fear, whatever emotion that you're actually feeling. But the big takeaway here is that you want to be prepared for them. So every time you fail, I shouldn't say fail, every time you fall off the diet for a day due to an event, I would keep a journal, like seriously, a note on your phone, something like that. What caused that fall off? Was it that I didn't have any food in the fridge? Was it that I was just really stressing? And then we start tackling that emotion. I know it's kind of cliche. I know it's kind of like voodoo or woohoo type stuff, but this is really going to empower you to self reflect what is causing me to fall off in the first place. And then we're going to fix those things. That failure or that small slip up is then going to be the thing that leads to you not doing that again. And over the course of time, you're going to be prepared with all of these different scenarios that then you have a strategy to fight against. The next thing is the big rocks theory. I'm going to show you this photo. All right, so I'm just going to explain this real quick. I know it's easy to see, but big rocks come first and then gravel second, which kind of, if you can tell, like fills in the space of the rocks. And then sand fills in the space between the gravel. And then there's, that says there's always room for coffee with a friend, coffee on the very top. I beg to differ on that last point. I don't think there's always time for coffee. The point here is to focus on the big movers. Focus on the things that actually make a difference. And in today's social media heavy world, and especially the gurus that think that they know what they're talking about and they don't, there's so much that they add to your plate, or in this case, add into the jar, that they want you to worry about. It's like red light therapy and, making sure to stop consuming carbs at a certain time and don't eat this and don't eat that and eat all these hacks and all these ways of doing it and green tea extracts and all this stuff. I'm going to give you the only things that matter right here in this list. Okay, so number one is going to be calories. Got to have your calories in check. Bottom line, if you're not in a calorie deficit, you're not going to lose weight. Number two, kind of to go really close in hand with that, is going to be your protein. You want to have enough protein. We talked about that earlier, to stay full, spare your muscle, all that stuff. Number three, weekly adjustments. I'm going to talk more about this one whenever I put the camera back. Number four is going to be resistance training. We talked about that in the first point. So make sure to get your plan if you don't already have it with FitBuddy. And then number five, cliche, corny, I say a lot of these, I guess. Never quitting. I was using the analogy today, actually, at the gym, talking to a guy. And I like the analogy I kind of came up with on the spot, which was, it's like a 2,000 piece puzzle. I've never put together a 2,000 piece puzzle. I imagine that's very, very difficult. If it took me a year to do that and I just nicked away at it as I walked by it every time, I would get the puzzle done. It would get done, And so if you keep trying to solve this puzzle, that's the never quitting point. But let's talk about the weekly adjustments, because that's pretty important. Everything else kind of like we've either already talked about or they're kind of self-explanatory or whatever. But the weekly adjustments, take your weight every single day. I don't care about up or down, both are false. That's what I always tell my clients. Up or down, doesn't matter. Both are false. It is the pattern that is true. The pattern is the only truth. And the more often you take your weight, the more often you can see the truth. Even if one day is really bad and the weight really spikes up there, your eye will automatically notice, obviously that was an outlier because it just dropped right back down. And this is the pattern. If your weight is going down, don't change anything. It doesn't matter if it's slow. You don't need to change it. If your weight is flat, that's where you need to make some changes. And that's things like increasing your steps a little bit, increasing your protein, slightly decreasing your calories. I'm very slow to decrease calories. I usually try to go for cardio, steps, protein, other things like that. And then just continuing in the game, okay? Because sometimes you're not in a plateau. Sometimes you're not stuck. Sometimes just that something went weird. Water weight was weird that week. If you just keep going, a lot of times it just fixes itself. And I wish I had a better answer for you on that one, but that's just keep going. And that's where it really helps to have a personal trainer. If you haven't already considered working with me, in the description, you can check out my program and all my client results. Having someone in your corner in order to talk you off this ledge, like I'm doing right now, but directly for you and to you, can really help. Number five is going to be what I call the Aristotle repetition method. I coined this myself. And so this is going to be from his book. I'm going to put it on the screen here. And if you think to yourself, Aristotle wrote a book? Wait, I guess he did. It's called Nicomachean Ethics. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but maybe someone just put it into a book form. I'm not sure. But he wrote this: each time fear is met with reason instead of panic, or anger expressed with measure instead of cruelty, emotion learns its boundaries. This is so powerful. The work is slow, but it endures. I love that. And what I'm kind of the point here is that failure is part of the process, and that's why it's slow. I really like how in that quote, slowness seems to be the driving factor of it. Something that's more permanent, something that's more sustainable and more worthy of the time you put in is going to be slow. Now, those feelings that he's talking about, the emotions, that's here. I'm going to focus on guilt. Guilt is what causes those rebounds. We have to train our emotions to follow what we know in our head. And I'm about to talk about that in calorie math on the next point, and that's really going to help you. So I'm going to talk more about that in a second. I want to hit in this point more that failure is important. Not only is it going to happen, and that might be kind of an aggressive word. It's not really failure. It's just like, falling off plan a little bit. Not only is that going to happen, I want you to appreciate when it happens. It is an opportunity to get better, an opportunity to learn, but also it is literally part of the process. I've said this in other videos. I've kind of drawn this out in other videos. I'll spare you that now. But imagine a road that the stop sign at the very end of the road is your destination. If there's 7 speed bumps on the way to that stop sign, you don't think to yourself, well, I'm just not going to go to my destination because there's 7 speed bumps. You just roll over the speed bumps. And speed bumps in this case are kind of like what we always think of speed bumps in an analogy type term, which is something that's difficult. I fell off my plan. I went to a Super Bowl party, whatever. Those speed bumps have to happen. You literally need to find them in order to get past them and get to the stop sign. The only real failure here, going back to that other point, is quitting. Do not quit. You will solve the 2,000-piece puzzle. I promise you. All right, number 6 is that calorie math is seriously eye-opening and motivating. So I'm going to show you that again on the whiteboard. So I do this math a lot with my clients. Let's say that you went 1,500 calories over whatever your goal was for that day. If you were already in a 500 calorie deficit, that's really only 1,000 calories over, like your maintenance. 1,000 calories divided by 3,500, that's in a pound of body fat. Sadly, I have to do the math here. I should have done this earlier. Is 28% of a pound of body fat. You will get rid of this in like 2 days, but it gets even better. When you've been in a chronic deficit of 500 calories, your body's stores are kind of depleted. And temporarily, when you go over, your body will have this increase in metabolism because it's like, oh my gosh, food. And so really that 28% is probably cut down to like 20%, maybe even less. Kind of goes back to that rainy day theory. It's just that slip ups are not that big of a deal. But whenever you see the math behind it, oh, I only gained like 1/4 of a pound of body fat. If I lose a pound of body fat every single week, that's 2 days, and by the third day, I'm in the green zone again, right? I'm losing body fat. It's so motivating to know that a horrible slip up cost you 2 days. If you get back to it, nothing's going to stop you. So typically your calories are underestimated, like in general, but whenever we mess up, they're overestimated because we overdo it, right? Because it increases the likelihood that we're correct on the guilt that we should be feeling. And so it's kind of like, what do they call that? Whenever a person is proving themselves right by thinking of something, in the way that would make them correct. Whatever that's called, I bet someone will know. Put it in the comments, please. But we overestimate intake whenever we mess up. And so food logging solves all of this. And it's something that maybe I should make a little food logging course or a food logging mastery course, but logging your calories is going to help you so much. And so this is a process, it's part of that puzzle. It is a skill that is going to get you all the way. So if you're taking this seriously, I would consider food logging or at least following a meal plan of some sort. Number 7, the last one. Easier beats harder every single time. Imagine 2 guys heading to the store. One sprints right off the line, gasses out about halfway. The other walks slow and gets there in time. This is the classic tortoise and the hare. The point here, though, is not slow is steady and steady is wins the race. It is that walking melts body fat. It really is the king of fat loss, and steps quietly scorch fat off of your body, especially whenever you're large. You have all of that weight you're carrying. It's as if you're carrying a rucking backpack already, just dispersed throughout your body. So you're going to be burning tons of calories. It is fantastic for you to simply move, okay? You don't have to do extreme runs or Stairmaster or anything like that. Shaun T, what was it, Insanity back in the day? You don't have to do any of that stuff, okay? You are burning calories just by moving. Let your body weight, and I know that we understand each other here, okay? It's difficult to be large. Let that difficulty just be difficult. You don't need to make it even harder on yourself. You're scorching calories just walking. Just take the steps, get a step goal, hit it every single day. I like steps most because it burns calories and it burns that level of calories without increasing hunger from my experience, at least not very much. Whenever I do cycling, and I do love working intensely, I do love working that VO2 max style training. I find my hunger does shoot up that day and a little bit the next day. Not a big deal with the weight that I'm at, but if you're like really struggling to get to that leanness, I don't want you to increase your hunger. And so for a lot of my clients, we just walk. But if they love running, I push it. So if you love it, go for it. So cardio is the one piece that I didn't talk about here, and it's going to help you so much if you get it right. I make a video ranking all the cardio types that burn belly fat right there. Watch that next.